why people are being registered without their knowledge, with faulty legislation, with personal data protection not guaranteed. But let me say this. We as legislators are the same people who overnight amended the law that brought about NIMS. We did not question our role, but we are the ones. We amended the clause that Matiang'i is using, and now we are blaming Matiang'i, but we are to blame too. We amended that clause. In fact, that clause was not even brought to the Senate. It was amended very quickly to facilitate Matiang'i to implement NIMS. Now we are complaining about NIMS. So again, let's look at our role in our problems, and this is what we need to do. We have a great role to play, both in terms of land. Now, again, we've just passed a law called the Land Index. That law is faulty, and I wish our majority leader from the National Assembly is here, because I have a bad habit of speaking truth to power. And I hope, and I will tell him in person because he's a good friend and a mentor, and he welcomes good feedback. When it's government bills, even when they are faulty, even for us pastoralists, it is whizzed through the system so fast. And unfortunately, and I know my sister Rehema talked about the 2 transgender, I'm glad it failed, because I sat there, I have no vote. So we are going to go, we are even saying to hell with 2/3 gender rule, affirmative action will come and offer our services to our people. So that then I will have a vote to say no to the Land Index bill. I did not have a vote because I'm a nominated senator. And I wanted to give feedback to say, when laws are faulty, we then push them through because they are government laws. And then we come back and tell our people this or that. We're lying, and it's not right. Anyway, I think we have experts here. I am not the expert, I'm the facilitator, but the issue of land, the issue of natural resources is very close to my heart, and that's why I'm talking about these things. In the Land Index, which is a really colonial style law, to be honest, it's modeled on the colonial law of getting people acquiring land by force and acquiring land to make way for development, when indeed that development doesn't reflect the needs of the people. In terms of ownership, in terms of checking how to compensate, they don't compensate rangelands, they don't compensate livelihoods, they don't compensate biodiversity. And yet, we don't have built-up areas. We're pastoralists, we move around. The value of our land is the livelihood it provides us, is the rangeland it provides for our animals, it's the biodiversity hotspot it provides, and it is the conservation and the conservation value it provides. All that, by the way, in the Land Index will not be compensated. Maybe you can tell us. It's buildings that will be compensated. It's the development on it. We have the least footprint as pastoralists. We have the highest forest cover. Isiolo, for instance, has over 52%. But no, that will not be compensated because it's not built up. So these are the issues that are of concern. We want LAPSET to start us off by telling us, and not just LAPSET, other major development projects are acquiring land, both at national and county government. And Governor, this one I'm addressing to you. Even the national county government, through gazettements. I know you put in the papers sometimes, not just you, I mean other counties as well, to say if you have any issues, we are going to convert this land. These kinds of conversions are taking land away from pastoralists without compensation. The conversion of public land, of pastoralist community land to public land, gazettements are depriving us without any compensation. Granted, we agree we need to do development, but let that development be done with compensation, not just compulsory acquisition. And I know sometimes with our counties, they're really eager to develop for us, but let people be compensated. Let them participate to say, we want these amenities. so that then they own it and there's sustainability to it. So with those few remarks, I would like them to start us off. I don't know if we want to start with LAPSET or we just start with the, sorry, let me just get the names. So remind me, you're the chair of FCDC Land Sector Reform? Abdul Kadir. So let's just start from we start from yourself, Dr. Abdul Kadir. We move on to the rest. Let's take 5 minutes. Sorry, I know I hogged a bit of time because I needed to tell ourselves a little bit of some of the concerns of the communities in northern Kenya and in the pastoralist areas. Karibu.
Thank you, Mheshimiwa. My name is Abdul Kadir Khalif. And I was a commissioner in the National Land Commission until about a week ago. But I remain one thing forever, which is I'm a land surveyor by profession, licensed land surveyor. That is a title I'm going to do for a very long time. I consider myself fortunate to have served in the National Land Commission. And I'm on record to say that we have not achieved much. But why we did not achieve much, we're going to explain in a discussion that we are going to have tonight. And there are, of course, reasons. It's not only our incapability, but there are reasons, and I'm glad that there are some governors here, quite a few legislatures here too, and we probably will discuss what their role should have been, what they have been able to do and not able to do. And it will be my pleasure to explain to this gathering about the differences between public land and community land and private land. This is very important in this region. Most of it is community land, and I will explain what that means and how that is administered and who administers it. What is the role of the national government in the management of those lands, what the roles of the county governments will be, and what the roles of the communities and private people will be. And I think we'll get into more details as we get into this discussion. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Husna. I work for Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. Okay. I think this is quite a pertinent issue that, and I'm glad it's put forward into this discussion, because that is where the source of conflict, not only in this region, but also in this country and the region all over. The moment clarity on the roles of who is responsible on management of land is not felt or is not clear, that is where so much of these aspects are coming out. The moment we look into, I mean, we find the government as an entity up there without being part of it, or without the government making everybody part of it. That's where issues are really coming out. The aspects of what we went through during the 2000, and I'm putting you back recently because there's a lot to discuss from 1965 to even before, I mean 1901, 1903. But let me get you close to 2007, 2008. The report stated clearly it was all around conflict or resource conflict, and it all bears it on land. So it's very, very important, as much as we are looking into the land reform agenda into this country, but we look into the legal, but also look at the peculiar issues which the sessional paper number 3 of 2009 mentioned, the issue of the peculiarity on pastoralism and how it needs to really be brought up into discussion. And it stated some few recommendations which were captured within our 2010 constitution. And one of the recognition is the aspect of community land. And it gives a lot of definition on how we can term it, but all in all is looking into the aspect of recognizing the customary tenure, which pastoralism forms the major tenure in this country. So it's very important that we recognize it at that level, but further now putting into a law which was enacted in 2016. And I also put this as a challenge to our parliamentarians. Honorable Senator made it clearly that she didn't have a vote, but whoever voted for any law, anything, I think is It's a responsibility to make sure it's happening. So this is also another question I want to put forward to all the leaders here, is that how is the implementation of the Community Land Act, which gives so much right, I mean actually tenure rights, to the likes of the land use within this region, should be put forward. The other aspect is around planning, and since devolution, I think the planning is devolved. We've concentrated a lot on CIDPs, and those are, we call it the blueprints for development. But there is one aspect of planning which we really need to bring forward, the spatial plan, which tells us all what it is within this region, within a particular county, and even further going to the wards and even the vulnerable areas, especially the forests and the wetlands within this area. For me, or from the technical point of view, that is a must for every other country and every other county and every other location. Why we say it's a must? Because there's a lot of talk, which I'm sure my other panelists will speak about. When land is being allocated from another angle for the interest of this country, definitely if there was a plan which says this area is like this, definitely all the people will be involved to look at it. So it's a responsibility at the county level to make sure that the spatial plans are in place. And that is the main master plan. And I know it's taken Kenya a long time. Actually, it was 2016, 2017, where they finalized the National Spatial Plan. But that plan gives a lot information of where and the what and the how will be done, or what it is on the ground, and then the other aspects of development comes in. And that, for me, is quite an important plan which everybody has to have. The other thing is, because the most important part is, if Garissa County, for example, has stated this area, it's a wetland and is a sensitive area for 1, 2, 3, 4, even for conservation. Definitely, whoever will want to plan for that area will really want to look into that, and that means already you're forcing participation of everybody into that discussion. The last, before I give it out to, is one aspect which most of us don't like it, but I'm sure people who confess the Islamic religion will take it positively. Wherever there is a right, there is a responsibility. And that is where even us as members of public, we've really failed into. I know the leaders are really trying to push for some aspects, but we need to have masses. We already know that the sovereign power of this country lies with the people, and that already tells you the numbers, the masses of how you want to really change. And I feel this is one of the opportunities which we feel something is wrong. We need to bring it up, not only politically, but also technically, to be able to design. So the main thing here is to look into how prepared we are, the miundo misingi, or the infrastructure ready to tackle the aspects of tenure. To date, we cannot say we have 67%. Actually, that was a discussion that we have 68% of land mass under community land. Actually, I might say, without any proof of statistics, no, we don't have that land here. So we might want to really prove the 68%, because if you look into what is public in terms of definition in our constitution, and the 68% we are talking about, remove what is public land, remove this individual parcel owned by private companies and individuals, and look into the remaining part. So we might want also to look at the tenure aspects of the map, the land remaining for real, looking into pastoralism. I must say that pastoralism is in the verge of getting extinct. And that is a fact, because the intentions, the global change is just so huge. The climate change discussion is so huge, and the effects are so huge. So it's very important that we look at it and not only talk about it, but really make sure we find out how much it is. And one of the recommendation is, I really put it forward to everyone, we have to do the spatial plan to really understand how our land is. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Husna. As we deal with this, Waziri, let's make sure that we look at, I know Husna looked at sustainable rangelands management and sustainable natural resource management. Let's look at the strategies around improvement of our productivity and how then we can look at these things. Let's look at strategies that address communal land and the issues we have just highlighted. So let's keep to those things so that we know how to keep within the concerns of the pastoralists, please. Karibu, Waziri.
Thank you very much. I want to thank Husna we've been working together for long, so we tend to read each other's brains. On behalf of the 10 FCDC counties, we have the Land Sector Forum, which is not very old. We established the Land Sector Forum sometimes last year in June as the 10 FCDC counties. Why? Because we looked at ourselves as pastoralists, as communities that are residing within the 68%. But I want that percentage to change because we've been talking about the 70% pastoralist land. Maybe it looks better that way. However, as my sister said, we are not even certain about that 68 or 70%. It may be smaller than that. And so to bring to the attention of the public, as the Land Sector Forum Chair, we've been sitting around and asking ourselves, we know the land issue has been devolved. However, we are delighted to have with us the outgoing commissioner for NLC, because oftentimes the questions that arise is whose mandate is who? What is it that the county government preside over? What is it that NLC presides over? And what is it that the national government through the Office of the CS for Lands presides over? And so we'll be able to share with you what aspect. However, the elephant in the room, as I always say, is the administration of community land. I think the members of parliament and the different houses are aware that the Act of Parliament CLA 2016 regulations were out sometimes last year in 2018, November about there. We've been waiting for those regulations. Clearly, the regulation says within 12 months, we must be able to sensitize our communities. Which one comes first? 18 months, we must have registered, have an inventory of those lands. But I want to ask my brother, Commissioner Khalif, it has taken them 5 years. They don't even have the inventory of the public land that they are supposed to share with us. I don't know what magic the counties will do to be able to come up with an inventory of community land. Over and above that, then we're asking ourselves, knowing too well the communities that we come from. And I want the members of parliament, the politicians, to come and help. Because when you put in a little politics inside, then you begin to dismantle the principles of land governance, what it means to be a community, whether it is by way of being an ancestor, having an ancestral inclination to that land, whether it is by virtue of having settled in that land for long, whether it is by way of use, by way of access, what exactly that means. Not that we have the answers. However, in our sitting, we say the county sees for land. Sit in a very, do I say a very hot seat? Why? Because you're talking about development. We don't want to be anti-development. However, this development must happen within the context of protection of the communities and ownership rights. And therefore, in as much as we want LAPSET to be there, in as much as we want the wind power to be there, what is the context within which that investment must happen? And unless we have certain policies in place, certain directions, then what we are saying is tomorrow our communities will be crying because when we had an opportunity, we did not represent them well. Finally, all these things we are talking about, we know that the County Government Act Section 110 indicate that we must do county spatial planning. County spatial planning is the anchor to county integrated development plan. We are in the second generation of the county governments. None of our FCDC counties has embarked on county spatial planning. And the whole essence of the county spatial planning, without having to repeat what my sister Husna has said, is to be able to locate for us what do we have on our land, what resources are lying under, over, because all that is defined as land in the Constitution. And if you don't, I think His Excellency the Governor for Marsabit will bear me witness. I told him one time that you don't want to sit on the side where the investor will come and tell you, I have found some gold, because he will not tell you the truth. You want to be in a position where you actually have your data. And you say, I have gold in Bubisa, and therefore I'm asking you as the investor to come and invest because you drive the agenda. However, if you haven't done the spatial plan, which most of us haven't done, and you know development is going towards northern, that is where the land is. So how are you going to be negotiating because you don't know what is on your land? So these are very critical questions that we ask ourselves. We are saying it's not all lost from where we are sitting. That is why we have the FCDC County Land Sector Forum representing the 10 counties. We are really placing the agenda of county spatial planning, even if we do the regional one. We actually have started with GARISSA CEC, we've started with the Turkana CEC, Mandera, Wajir, Marsabit. We are even saying, can we begin in a small way, 4 or 5 counties come together, do a regional one, then scale it to the county one. That is the only way from where we are sitting, we will be advantaging ourselves rather than be on the receiving end. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ms. Ikal. Again, let's keep to the issues around natural resource management, issues around concerns to communities. I know you come from a county that is very well endowed with natural resources, and how then as friends of Lake Turkana, what advice you would have with regards to the concerns that we had highlighted earlier on. Karibu.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. One of the things that, just picking up from what Gulamo said, that is worrying for me is we're talking about, so when the senator mentioned the land value index, I was laughing in my head because we don't understand what's in our land. Honorable Governor of Marsabit, there's a case in court right now of the wind farm. Compensation for a household is 150 euros. 150 euros is not enough even for salary for one household. So we don't understand the value of our land, and then we are sitting on a sort of like on the side. There's a lot of wind potential in this in the northern counties. There's the oil and the infrastructure. And currently, because we are pastoralists, I start to worry when land is seen for land's sake. Coming this way, this was my first time coming to GARISSA, and you could see the understanding of pastoralists in terms of where their grazing areas are. We have the wet season grazing areas. We have the dry season grazing areas. So mobility is what's most critical to pastoralists. It's not land for land's sake. And so we see people cordoning off land and saying land. But then if you take the land here, and my dry season grazing area is here, and my water point is across there, and Lapsad is passing in the middle, what am I supposed to do? What a pastoralist supposed to do when we cannot articulate our conversation engaging? Yes, we want national development, but if the national development is actually distracting and destroying the grazing patterns of pastoralists, then we are going to be having IDPs within pastoralists. When Honorable Senator is talking about land value index, can somebody quantify for me what is the value of a dry season grazing? If you are to be paid for dry season grazing, what do you pay somebody? Do you calculate the number of livestock that graze during that season, for how many seasons, for 40 years, for 100 years? Like, what's the calculation? You see, we are stuck with not knowing how to calculate our grazing patterns, our dry season, wet season infrastructure. And yet we are talking about giving out land, compensation for land. But if I don't know what is your worth, if you don't know what is your worth, somebody else will determine what is your worth. And it's very critical through the land sector teams, through the members of parliament to really sit down and ask themselves, are we getting a fair share? Are we negotiating well for our communities? Because at the end of the day, we already have Dadaab, we have Kakuma. But if you look at what UNHCR pays the government, national government, and what comes to communities who actually lost a livelihood. When Dadaab came there, that was a grazing area. When Kalobe is being set up, that is a grazing area. We don't know what we lost, and so we forced pastoralists to look for different routes. Where the wind farm is, the pastoralists who are using there, they're being forced to use different routes. One, bringing conflicts. So we have to really ask ourselves, when LAPSET is being brought, yes, it's a great idea, but why not move it a little bit north, a little bit south, so that it is in a place that is not necessarily destroying the grazing areas of communities. So that's the first one. There's a new concept now, and we might romanticize the idea of conservancies in pastoral areas, but we need to ask ourselves the big question, what's this new romance around conservancies in pastoral areas? And especially because what we're talking about, conservation, is already being done traditionally by pastoralists. And yet we are going in, the control and access of the land that is being taken over for pastoral, for conservancies is not by pastoralists. Who sits on the boards of conservancies? Non-pastoralists. They put one of our own to make it native. So we are losing land to ideas that are not necessarily about pastoralism or for pastoralists. And if we're going to talk about development, development has to be by the pastoralists, for the pastoralists, and with the pastoralists. And so when we look at all these things, yes, we want development. But at the same time, if LAPSET is going to come and we don't have the infrastructure to support the meat production from where it's happening to come to where the main infrastructure is, then we are just going to be helping create an infrastructure for somebody else. So we really have to really think about, one, what's on our land, as Honorable Kulamo has mentioned, and in that engagement, make sure that when the land value index conversation comes, because the other thing, again, even while we adjudicate land and register it, when it comes to community, we might fall into how much land the community can own, yet we know that because of the pastoralist nature, we integrate ourselves along. So we have where we know we are custodians, but it doesn't stop pastoralists from moving across to the next. I've seen the Gabra cross all the way from Kenya into Ethiopia. If somebody decides, oh, you've adjudicated, so you can no longer go into Ethiopia, what happens? So we really have to go back to our traditional knowledge, but also build on the economics of what is there right now, because at the moment, we're at risk of not getting the fair share for what our land is. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Carl, for articulating that very well. Now, I think the man on the hot seat is our colleague from LAPSET. You've heard the concerns that we have articulated. Now, please respond to those concerns. And as you know, our concerns are many, but are especially around the mega projects. And of course, the one that comes to mind right now is the LAPSET. Please go for it.
Thank you, moderator. Yes, my name is John Musale from the LAPSET Corridor Development Authority, and this is the institution that has been charged with planning, coordinating, and sequencing the LAPSET Corridor program. As you are all aware, this is our second transport corridor in the country, the first one being the Mombasa, Malaba, Kisumu corridor. And having sat here since yesterday and even this morning, I've had deliberations concerning the high potential areas. And basically, if we look at the history of how the first corridor came into being, that is the Northern Corridor that I've referred to, it is because it was traversing the high potential areas. So this is an opportunity where, and again, taking into cognizance the fact that the Asal region, the northern part of this country, is well endowed with natural resources, minerals, oil, and all that. Pastoralist areas, we are talking about livestock. So there's a need to harness all these resources by providing a second corridor. And this is why we are having a corridor being built from the new Lamu port that we are constructing, then traversing 9 counties, all of which, except Meru, that are all pastoralist land. So basically what we are doing is that the way we've structured this corridor, because we have different components, we have the highways, we have the railway, we'll have the oil pipelines, both crude and product oil pipeline. We want to acquire land that these infrastructure projects will be laid. And what we want to acquire is a 500 meters wide corridor that we would want to acquire, and we're in the process of acquiring. And then we are also working with the counties, and we've had several meetings, stakeholder meetings, since the counties came into being, where we want to have an outer corridor where we have about 50 kilometers on either side of the 500 meters being a controlled area. These we are not acquiring, but we want to work with the counties, and I've had my fellows here talking about the spatial plans, that look here, we have a lot of resources around. So how do we properly plan so that we integrate these spatial plans to the infrastructure project that we are building? Is it abattoirs where we're going to build them? Is it social amenities? Is it whatever it is that is developmental? So in terms of land acquisition, and I think we have an expert in the panel here from the National Lands Commission, us, we are coordinators, but we work with various institutions, implementing agencies, plus other facilitative institutions like the National Land Commission, the Ministry of Lands, and all that. We are currently in the process of, we started the process way back of land acquisition. We started by surveying the whole of the lapsed corridor. We've gone further. As late as last week, there was a notice of intention to acquire land that came out in the Kenya Gazette of 15th February. And as we are speaking, we have our people on the ground who are meeting the communities in the community participation, people that are directly affected by this project. Before that, we've had stakeholder engagement with the county leaders where the corridor is traversing. So we hope that once we finalize with the community participation, then we'll go to the next phase, which is evaluation. And then after evaluation, then it comes to the compensation. But as I said, we are working very closely with the National Land Commission and the Ministry of Land, including the implementing agencies. Thank you.
Actually, I should have let Mheshimiwa Ekwam speak before you did, because he has practical examples. For his MCA from my county, and he has practical examples of the concerns of the community, not just from us, but Mheshimiwa, go for it. Maybe perhaps he can respond after you have also given your input. Karibu.
Asante. Kwa majina, vile Governor Senator amesema ni Ekwa Mteru, ni kutoka Isiolo. Kusema kweli, sisi kama wafugaji, ni muhimu sana tuweke sheria na tuipitishe sheria ya kulinda ardhi yetu, kwa sababu ardhi yetu ndio sasa inaotewa sana, inaotewa na wale ambao wanajua umuhimu wa ardhi. Unajua kwamba sisi wafugaji ni watu tu ambao tunafuatilia mambo ya mali zetu kama ngamia, mbuzi, ng'ombe, lakini mambo ya ardhi sisi kama wafugaji hatutilii manane sana. Kwa hivyo imefika wakati huu sasa sisi kama wafugaji tuangalie ardhi yetu, tufuatilie ardhi yetu, na pia tuweze kupitisha hasa wabunge wetu ambao wako hapa na wale viongozi wengine, hiyo sheria ambao iko kwa bunge tunaomba sana ipitishwe, ili watu wetu wawe na macheti katika sehemu ambao wanaishi, kwa sababu ardhi yetu ya wafugaji iko hatarini. Siku chache tu iliyopita tulikuwa na commissioner ambao tuko naye hapa, tulikuwa tunaongelea kuhusu mambo ya ardhi hasa wa Isiolo. Ardhi ya Isiolo kwa mfano imefahamiwa sana, na wale wamefahamia zaidi ni serikali. ni serikali ndio imefahamia hasa kupitia kwa jeshi. Ardhi yetu ya Isiolo hasa Central, ile ardhi imeenda sana nyingi sana ni jeshi ndio wako naye. Na hiyo ni kwa sababu ya kwamba ni ardhi ambayo ilikuwa inaishi na inakaa hivyo. Sasa jeshi ilikuja tu ikafahamia akakuta wananchi huko, akasongesha na imechukua ardhi kubwa sana. Kwa hivyo hiyo ni kitu ambao tungekuwa na titles, hiyo serikali kupitia kwa hiyo jeshi angeweza kuchukua ardhi yetu. Lakini sisi kama viongozi na wafugaji wa Isiolo bado tunafuatilia hiyo mambo, bado tunaongelea hiyo maneno, tunafuatilia sana kwa sababu ardhi yetu ni ardhi kubwa. Jeshi inataka iende upande ya boda, kama ni upande ya Somalia, kama ni upande ya Ethiopia, huko jeshi haitakikani wakuje katikati ya wananchi, mahali ambao wananchi wanachunga mali zao, mahali ambao yuko katikati ya watu. Jeshi waende wafanya kazi ile imeandikiwa, mbonda huko, wachunge huko. Lakini hii ya Isiolo imegeuka, imekuwa ardhi, wamechukua ardhi ya community. Unashangaa wakubwa wale wako ndani ya hiyo camp, wako na ardhi kando kando hiyo hiyo makamp. Kwa hivyo tunaomba viongozi tujaribu namna ya kuweza kuweka sheria. Ikawa tunajua kwamba mko wachache kwa hiyo bunge. Hata kama mko wachache, tuko na Mungu kwa sababu haki yetu lazima itafanyika na tunajua kwamba itapita. Kwa hivyo ingine ni kuhusu mambo ya boda. Mfano kama kwetu sasa, hasa ward yangu mahali mimi natoka, ward yangu juu yangu iko na ward inaitwa special ward ambao hatujawahi kusikia katika Kenya. Na hiyo ni wale wanajua umuhimu wa ardhi, ndio wamekuja hata wameweka special ward juu ya ward nyingine ambao iko MCA, ward ambao iko kura inapika Isiolo, ward ambao wamechagua senator, ward ambao wamechagua governor, ward ambao wamechagua watu wote wa viongozi wa Isiolo. Lakini unakuta wale ambao tulioongea jana hapa, tulisukumza kwamba ametunyanyasa, unaona kwamba wanaingiza mkono huko ndani hiyo sehemu, wanasema hapa ni special ward kwa sababu wanajua umuhimu wa ardhi na wanajua umuhimu wa ya kuchukua ardhi. Kwa hivyo hizo ndio vitu ambao inatusumbua kama viongozi. Kwa hivyo kile tu ambao tunaomba viongozi tuungane pamoja kama wafugaji, tuangalie ardhi yetu, tuko na rasilimali wa kutosha katika hii ardhi yetu. Na ukiangalia katika Kenya, sisi wafugaji ndio tuko na ardhi kubwa sana. Kubwa kabisa kuliko wale ambao wanajivuna kwamba wako wengi katika population. Kwa hivyo sheria tunaomba ipitishwe kuhusu mambo ya LAPSSET. LAPSSET inapita katikati yetu, vile wale waliotangulia waliposema, inapita katikati yetu. Mambo ya corridor inapita katikati yetu. Mambo ya refiners inapita katikati yetu. Hiyo yote tusipokuwa na cheti, hata kama wanasema kwamba italipwa, lakini kama hatuna cheti, bila shaka tutazungukiwa kwa njia nyingine, unakuta ardhi imeenda kwa wakati mwingine. Kwa hivyo ni hayo tu, asanteni.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Ekwam, umeiweka vizuri sana. Government iwache kuvamia ardhi yetu, lazima tuseme hivyo, sio? So we're going to open to all of you to put input so that then our commissioner can actually answer some of the things that the panelists have raised, and please direct it to. So Mheshimiwa Hare, 1, 2, 3. Governor, the second lot. So let's start with Mheshimiwa, and then we'll go to Mheshimiwa Raso, then we go to Senator Hargura, then we'll come to our Governor, Governor Mahmoud, who is my namesake, by the way. I share a name with him. Please, who is passing around the microphone? Inaonekana hii summit imeisha, lakini please help us with microphones to the... Brother Jackson, just give him this one.
Thank you, Honorable Abshiro, my party mate. My question goes to the gentleman from LAPSSET. And I want him to explain when he says that they want to acquire the land. Acquiring how? By way of compensation or just acquiring, or you know, because it's not clear.
Compulsory acquisition.
Question number 2. I'm disappointed in the way the public participation for the LAPSOT project has been done. And I want to talk from experience. 2 weeks ago, I think like 3 weeks ago, LAPSET, officials from LAPSET, I think, went to my constituency in Lagdera. You know, sometimes when you are dealing with pastoralists or communities in marginalized areas, basically, majority of the population are not literate people. They don't even understand what public participation is all about. There has been, I think, some deliberate effort not to involve the leadership. Because I'm a member of parliament, I represent that area. It is the community who call they are receiving these people from Nairobi who are coming here to talk about LAPSET. That thing we don't know, it's new to us. Do you have any information? What do I tell them? I tell them I don't have information. Sometimes again they go to the extent of saying, do we chase them away? You know? So I think this issue of public participation is paramount, and I think it's the right time the leadership of you know, affected or areas concerned, it's a high time that these officials engage the leadership. I've seen the Gazette notice of where you talk of that intention to acquire the land. For example, Garissa County, there is an indication there from G1 up to G122. We really don't understand what that means. If you talk of the corridor of 500 meters, in a stretch of 100 kilometers, that is a big chunk of land, you know? So the mechanism of, if there is any compensation, because at that public participation, what I was told was that they said, because this is a communal land, and you know, people don't have plots, they don't have ownership of that land, it's just like a land they found somewhere. So there will be no compensation or no nothing. So I also want you to explain on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mheshimiwa. Please give to Mheshimiwa Russell.
Thank you very much, Chair, and also the panelists. I think if there will be a rebellion in this country, it will be about land. And it will start in the ASAL areas. And it must be taken so seriously. Why am I saying this? The Turkanas had actually to block the road, take up arms, and paralyze everything until a concession had to be bargained for them to be told that we'll get 10% for the community, 20% for the county. Are we going to go the same route for LAPSET and for Lake Turkana wind power? I want to hear the views of the panelists. The second thing, there's an animal called NRT. They are armed, they have helicopters, they have vehicles, they have headquarters. They don't fall under the government. They don't fall under the KWS. Which country are we living in? Maybe from here, because last time I was arrested in Marsabit, I may be arrested for this. We want to know, particularly from the land commissioner, what is NRT? And they fall under which law? If we say that we don't know, then of course, then we are living in utopia and we are burying our heads in the sand like the proverbial ostrich. The third thing, and really more important, is the LAPSET. Our good friend, Mr. Musalia, has said this. They will need 500 meters for the railway. Remember, 500 meters is half a kilometer. Then either side of that half a kilometer, they will need 50 kilometers. So that is 100 kilometer, 0.5. Which country are we living in? Or it is an imaginary dispersed line to tell us that you people of Marsabit, you are actually living in Lapset. Are we going to be made squatters in our own country? That is why Honorable Ireia has said, if there's no public participation, then I think development is made for the people. So if you are not involving the people, who are you doing this development for? It is a very serious thing that if we are going to say things, we must be very clear that it is for the benefit of the people, not to hurt them. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Senator Hargura, and then we'll come to Governor, and then we'll go to Honorable Kalicha. Then we'll answer those 5, and then yeah. Or should we take all the questions? Okay.
Thank you, Senator Abshiro. On the issue of the national natural resources management, these resources are found on community lands. There is this narrative, because I've interacted with one of them, that the community's interest is only pasture. What is below the ground, what is above the ground is not theirs. When it comes to compensation, it has been written. It's documented by an organization which has acquired community land that they have grazing rights, but they don't have legal rights. So even when Lapset is here, we don't expect any compensation from them because that will be the narrative they are going to bring about. So I'd like to say that Lapset should not come anywhere, community land, until we register the community land, if that's what they want from us, so that we have the legal rights to negotiate with them. Then also it has to be understood that that land is ours. Whatever resources are on it, below it or above it, are ours. So there's nothing like we only need the grass, because that's the argument we have somewhere, that so long as you can access the grass, the wind is for those who can develop. You don't have that capacity. The oil is for those who can develop. You don't have that capacity. We are being equated actually to the life or to the wildlife on that land. That is how they take us. Then on the issue of the Lapset, the width of the corridor, I'd like the gentleman to actually state or repeat the statement he made. Because the Lapset is a road. In our case, the road is there. The other one is a railway. Then the pipeline. From my understanding, a reserve of 100 meters can take all those facilities, side by side. The pipeline is supposed to be buried. Then the railway is as narrow as it is, with maybe at most a reserve of 60 meters. 100 meters can take all of them. So even the 500 meters, unless, I'm just wondering, the pipeline or the Lapset start from Lamu. What do you do in Meru? Do you take 500 meters in Meru? You don't. So how come that when you come north, you feel you can take even 100 kilometers, 50 kilometers either way? I was telling my friend here, Honorable Raso, 100 kilometers for 200 meters is 20,000. That's the whole of Laisamis constituency, taken through Marsabit County. So I think let's be practical. Don't think that that land is idle the way it is. So exactly say what you need. It has to be within our own need. We'll give what we can, but don't think there is any empty land there.
Thank you, Senator. Please give to your governor. Thank you. Karibu, Governor.
Yeah, thank you very much, moderator. Thank you, the panelists, for that informative session. Let me begin by saying we are happy to have a commissioner from lands here, Commissioner Khalif. I want to request you that the Northerners have started getting titles now. So the people who work in that office under you people must fast track issuance of titles when they come from GARISSA, from Marsabit. Yeah? Sorry? Oh, sorry. But whoever will take over from you, you will hand over those notes. Yes. Yeah? That we have also started looking for these titles. It's not business as usual, and we will keep that office on toes. For spatial planning, the ball is in our court as leadership. We must fast track. Very important. But the main issue here today is concerning, sorry, I lost the name, the gentleman from Lapset. Sorry? Musalia. Yes, Mr. Musalia. I want you, first of all, to understand that as the leadership of these counties where Lapset passes through, we support this project, 100%. We want it like yesterday, because it will open up that part of the world. It will connect us to Ethiopia, and that is a very big opportunity. But some of the things you've said here, I don't understand, my friend. Just like the senator here has outlined. I hope it was a slip of the tongue when you're saying you need 50 kilometers either side. First he said 500, and after that he talked of 50 kilometers on both sides. Did I hear you correct? Yes. If some guys in the office misled you, tell them to tell it to the birds, because there is no 50 kilometers you can get from anywhere. That will mean the whole of Moyale will go. It's not even enough. You'll look for another town to pass that thing. It's not possible. It's impossible. The 500, we can talk about it. You still don't need 500. My senator who just spoke is an engineer. I am a quantity surveyor by profession. The Kibera railway line under the project, World Bank project, my company, before I came into the county, was the one involved in that project, where we were providing 20 meters on either side, some housing units. So why do you want to do what you don't do in Nairobi? You know? That pipeline, we need it, like yesterday. Put it underground. The railway line, do it the way it is done all over the world, the rest of the world. Let us not try new things just because somebody thinks there is a lot of free land where people don't know what it is used for. Finally, one speaker here said participation has not been done properly. Leadership has not been involved. Before you even go down to the people out there, I want to say that, or rather suggest, you convene a meeting for the leadership where all the governors concerned in those counties, all the MPs, the speakers of the county assemblies, the leader of majorities of those county assemblies are convened at one place, and then you do a presentation for us. Arising from that discussion, we can agree on way forward. Otherwise, for you to just imagine and come and grab all the land, which will cause a lot of problems and maybe make the project not to take off, is going to be terrible, and we don't want things to go that way. Let's do first things first. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Governor. Let me give our SG and then Senator Mahmoud. And then we'll go to, oh, sorry, Honorable Kalicha, I almost forgot you.
I have 3 points to say. The first one is, I must say, actually, we are in trouble as pastoralists and as far as Lapset is concerned. Why am I saying this? I just Googled who are the board members of Lapset. There's no representation of pastoralists. And that's basically where decisions are made. We move from there. When such kind of land taking is going on, actually I should call it land grabbing, public participation is just is done in abstract. The governors, I'm very sure they are not involved. The MPs are said to be in Nairobi, they are not involved. My friend actually alluded to that. The members of county assembly are the same.